Hey guys, Artosis here, bringing you some more of the CNSL Season 6. Right now we're starting Group E in the round of 32. This is a group with no Terran players. We're going to have a free Fengzi, Absolute, and Movie in this group. Our first match going to be free here, as you see on the left-hand side of New Heartbreak Ridge, playing Protoss. And his opponent will be Fengzi over here on the right-hand side. This is going to be a pretty fun match. We've seen Fengzi put out some pretty high-quality games against some of the Korean pros, being one of the best Chinese Zergs. But this guy's pretty dangerous, pretty deadly in this matchup. Free is one of the 6 dragons that you may remember, the 6 top Protoss players in the world back in around 2008-ish. They were dubbed that. So Free is a very strong Protoss player, and, yeah, I think specifically what he was most remembered for back then was his Protoss versus Zerg. I still like his Protoss versus Zerg. I don't think he's necessarily top 6 Protoss right now, but he is still a strong competitor, so do not underestimate him. And, of course, you know, Fengzi, we've seen him take down some of the Korean players from time to time. It's going to be a little bit of a harder match for him, but I think, honestly, the group is somewhat doable for Fengzi, honestly. Like, if he beats Free, I think he'll get out of the group. We will see about that, because the other 2 players in the group, Absolute's pretty good. We'll talk more about him in the next match, but the other one, Movie, who's kind of a famous player. He's been in an OSL finals and stuff, but is actually particularly weak against Zerg. So yeah, I think Fengzi has a very good chance of not getting last place in the group and maybe even advancing. So anyways, this was a pool first here from Fengzi and a Forge expansion from Free. He was looking to possibly, you know, there's always a possibility you could like cannon rush if it was a hatchery first or something like that, but not going to be the case here. 6lings on the way. That is going to force some cannons going up from Free before he makes his Nexus. You got to play that very, very safe. And in fact, blocks the hatchery as well with the pylon. We'll see if the Zerglings are going to help clear that first. Most likely going to be the case. Yeah, they're going to go ahead, attack that pylon down, then make their way across the map. At least some of them make their way across the map. Probably want to chase this probe around a little bit as well. And Free actually goes double cannon here. So that's extremely, extremely safe. Now, the location of those cannons might look funny. You can look at this and say, well, can't Hydras down here like hit that with impunity? Yeah. But it will also help to hit things trying to come down the ramp from the back route. And in fact, you can see Fengzi is mining through this. This is a stack of 0 mineral patches, right? So one drone can sit here and mine this out. It takes a while, but it does give you that secondary path through where you can run down the ramp. So honestly, this is very good planning from Free. Throws down the Nexus, throws down the gateway. Plenty of lings out here, and the probe is being chased as Fengzi tries to take his own 3rd base. Really kind of an interesting game. I like this idea from Fengzi. We've definitely seen some of the non-Korean players utilize the rush abilities on this map. You might recall from the DeWalt Scan series, this is what got DeWalt so far ahead as he mined out those back minerals, was able to infiltrate with some additional units in Scan's base, and that gave him quite a big lead. We'll see if that's going to work for Fengzi here. He ends up mining out that entire mineral patch, and, I mean, I think the drone just goes home from here. I'd be pretty surprised if he had any other intentions with that drone at this point. But here comes some Zerglings. And again, these cannons will hit lings coming down the ramp. Like, if you try to right a line and go out, I'd say 3 of your lings will get in out of 6, right? Maybe 4 or 5 out of 8. We'll see. He has 8 lings. Layer is on the way. So it looks like this is not that cheesy. Like, he did utilize a drone. He did make 8 lings. It was a pool first. But, you know, it's 3 hatch plays going into layer. It's not like there's a Hydra follow-up or something like that. But look at this. I love the Zealot on the ramp. The Zealot on the ramp just going to completely destroy this plan. You can see he comes down, tries to fight it a little bit. But as long as Free kind of dances it back, he should be safe. Another Zealot comes out to help out as well. This one has taken a little bit of hull damage. Hasn't been able to kill any Zerglings yet. In fact, only a couple hits delivered thus far. So some nice micro there from Fengzi. Free right now. Citadel. Oh my god. Oh, this is really interesting. We don't have... Well, there is a Dragoon coming for anti-air, but we don't have a Stargate for Corsairs coming. And Fengzi is, I believe, going to basically... No, he doesn't quite scout it. Doesn't quite scout it. I think he probably assumes there's a Stargate over there. But when there's no Stargate, the attacks come much, much, much faster, much more powerfully. But Fengzi is making a Spire. So if he holds on to the initial pressure, he should have an advantage. Now, it's... You don't just automatically win because you went Mutas and they didn't go Corsairs, but it is very hard for Protoss to tread that line correctly. We've seen it from time to time. If you remember the Ascension tournament, there was a great Hawk versus DeWalt game where DeWalt was able to counteract Hawk's Mutalisks without a Stargate. We'll see if Free is able to do that here as well, because you are going to figure this out as Fengzi when there's just no Corsair coming out, like in the next 30 seconds or so. When there's no Corsair, he's going to know, like, oh, you're not going Stargate. So that will probably prompt him into going into Mutalisks, like, no matter what. The 3 bases are up and mining. Additional macro hatch on the way. The Zergling speed, of course, is out here as well. Ling's coming out to try to kill this Dragoon. Wants to get it to stop moving. Ah, he doesn't quite get the Overlord. So that was a solid kill to save that Overlord. And you know what? The Spire is going to be finishing. There is only 1 gas, so you can only make like 4 mutas here, but still going to be useful. Free has a lot of Zealots, man. +1 and legs are not done yet, but they're going to be done relatively soon. So this is a case in which you might need to utilize the Mutalisks defensively. Another macro hatch coming. No additional gases. That's one thing I'm kind of looking at. Obviously, you don't need to like just mine nothing but gas here and just make 1,000,000 Mutalisks. Like, even just having a small amount should be pretty strong. Free is going to have to get some defensive cannons. Now, you see the robotics coming up. That's... Wow, this is just... It's such an interesting game. Just not one that you generally end up seeing at the Pro Korean level. Like, it's very rare to skip the Stargate unless they start with something like a 3-hatch Hydroplate. This is a pretty quick layer, so it is a bit surprising. Now, the Muta's going to start to go to town here on these Zealots. There's not a lot of units here. These Zealots might end up doing a lot of damage. Muta's coming up to help out. Drones starting to fall. You know, that's the thing. The Zealots take a long time to kill from these Mutalisks. And you can see Free just running into the main base with some of these. Some drones have died, but honestly, he's choking this up pretty well, going after those Zealots in the main base. And it's 30 workers against 34 probes at the moment. We'll see how much worse that gets for Fengzi, but not bad so far, I think. All right, these Zealots are going to start to get some kills here on those drones, so he does have to be careful at that. This final Zealot should get cleaned up, but not before it kills another drone there as well. The Hydra's Den under attack for a moment, going after these drones as they pop up into that natural to continue mining. I love this, splitting them off. The Zerglings will clear up one, and the Mutas should be able to get the other. So this Zealot pressure is pretty done. Oh! Still one in the main base. Okay, so what were we at? We were at 34 against 30, and now we're at 42 against 26. So the Zealots did do their job in a lot of ways. They've kept the Mutalisks over here as well and bought a lot of time. But was it good enough? Let's take a look what's going on back at home here for Free. So he's added a lot more cannons, as you can see. Very well cannoned up. Even has one on the high ground. That will slow the Mutas, but obviously can't stop them completely. 3 cannons in the main base. We have the Templar Archives. We don't see anything other than High Templars being made. Sometimes you will see against this, and I personally think it's very, very good. Dark Archon with Maelstrom. Dark Archon with Maelstrom can really counteract those Mutalisks very, very well. In a lot of ways, better than a Corsair army can. 4 more gates coming up, so it's going to be an 8-gate production. And it looks like it's just going to be Zealot Archon coming out of Free. So it seems like he thinks that he can put enough pressure on that he's going to be able to just take this game. One thing to mention, now there is a shuttle on the way. I'm not exactly sure what this is for. Like, I guess you could drop Zealots off in a base. A DT would probably be optimal, but we don't see that on the map yet. But one thing I want to mention, right? So we have Lurkers on the way. Now, Lurkers are going to counteract the Zealot Archon pretty darn well, especially if you don't have an Observer. He has a Robo. Is there an Observatory? There is not. There is not. The Robo is only making a shuttle. He'll probably make an observatory relatively soon here, just as a safety precaution. He has more than enough money for an observatory, but does not have one. Okay, so as the first lurker hits, he instantly makes the observatory. So that is going to slow this down. And Zealot Archon doesn't scale in this matchup very well. The larger the ground army, the better the lurker placements become from Fengzi. This army, like, it's kind of like a timing army against Mutalisks, right? Where you want to hit in there before they have a lot of Hydras. Archons just don't do well against Hydras. Zealots don't do well against Hydras in large numbers, and obviously Lurker's going to do very well against both. So I feel like Fengzi has played this excellently so far. He is down in supply still, but he's caught up as far as drones go. The Mutas are trying to get something done, but it seems like there's just enough over here to prevent that. Now, this is a beautiful move coming out. Look at this. A bunch of Zealots and an Archon getting into that main base. Fengzi in some trouble here. Brings down a Lurker immediately. Oh, can he get it underground? He can't. He cannot. Absolutely brutal. Another Lurker gonna start going to town on these units. At least he didn't lose too many of his own drones. That is a good thing. The Mutas having a hard time actually getting their attacks off. It looks like the Spire will be picked off, so that's the end of the Mutalisk Menace. Whatever Mutas he has now will be it for a while at least. Wow, the shuttle with the double Archon, and he does need to be careful about that. These Archons getting very, very low health-wise. Hydra's going to come down and help out against that as well. Ooh, some insanely good hits from that Archon. Picks off 4. And he's actually going to get out with like a 4 shield Archon and a couple of damaged Zealots. That's kind of insane. Okay, so that drop, I feel like, was really, really good. That did very well with that army that I was mentioning. You know, it wasn't going to scale all that well. And he actually saved part of it. Has Dragoons now. New base going up. Ooh, the Muta's going to get here just before the cannons are done. So might be able to screw with this a little bit. Get rid of some of these cannons, but there's plenty of Dragoons coming. So, you know, a decent maneuver with the Mutalisks, but not going to get the type of damage I think that he would like here. And now Free's army is scaling very, very well, right? Like, we should be getting some Psystorm in here. But actually, now that I've said that, we're not, right? It's only Dragoons being produced. So he may feel like the key to victory here is just massing Dragoons, hitting that critical mass, and breaking through everything, saying, you know what, screw it, we don't need... Ooh, nice pickoffs, by the way, on the Observers. But screw it, we don't need Psystorm. You, again, rarely will you ever see anything that looks like this, what Free is doing here. This is such an interesting game. Okay, Psystorm just started, but really, he's got to move around some with his Zealot Dragoon army. We'll see what he can get done. It is a very large amount of Dragoons. More and more and more continue to flow out. The High Templars being added in. He's got those 3 gases, so he really can't afford a beautiful Protoss army at this point. Fengzi is only on 3 bases, but he's on Lurker Tech, right? So that plays a little bit different. If he was only on Hydras right now, I would be like, yeah, I don't think so this game. But as is, what we're looking at, like a Hydra Lurker composition, there's some interesting things you can do. Like these high ground locations, very hard for Dragoon armies to attack uphill into Lurkers. Right, just Protoss armies in general. Anything attacking uphill into Lurkers has a hard time. But that's like a very common trend that we see when Lurkers are out. You kind of turtle a position like this and they can't really attack in. Or, I mean, you could even turtle the middle a little bit. I don't think you necessarily want to take this base. That's going to be a hard one to hold on. A little bit sloppy there. A lot of his units actually pathing incorrectly. But yeah, you know, these are all possibilities that we see here for Fengzi. Now, Free is up a good 40+ supply. He's got Psystorm. He's got those High Templars out. He's got +2 armor and +1 attack, a very trendy upgrade set. Looking over at Fengzi's side, I don't believe he ever remade that Spire. He does have +1 ranged attack, and that is it as far as upgrades go. +2 is on the way. Queen's Nest and another Evolution Chamber on the way. So Fengzi getting ready for a much bigger, much longer game. But he actually has to secure more bases. It doesn't necessarily need to be gas. Like, he can take this base. That'll be a good base for him. But even so, Free is taking the 6 o'clock base. So 4 base versus 4 base, that's not where you want to be as Zerg. Right? Free is in control of this game. He's done a very good job so far. with his pressure with this army, and he is going to come up now for an attack. An Observer coming up here as well. Gets in on top of a lot of these lurkers, and oh my god, that is such a large amount of Dragoons. This could be just about the end. Well, yeah, that's just, it's way too much. We have like one left over. A big Psystorm hits it. The lurkers are gone now, and Free gonna steamroll his way through in a Corsair-less game. Really, really cool one that we've seen. Yeah, very well done. And that means Free is going to go ahead and go up to that winners match. Of course, Fengzi not out yet, goes to the losers match. GG.